All right, let's talk about something that can be incredibly tough. A really specific kind of heartache that, honestly, no one really prepares you for. And that's getting over someone you never actually officially dated. It's such a strange and confusing pain, and today we're going to try and make sense of it together.
I mean, this is the question, right? This is the one that keeps you up at night. You find yourself replaying every little conversation, every single one of those almost moments, and you feel this very, very real sense of loss. But how? How can you lose something you never really had in the first place? That confusion is exactly what makes this whole thing so incredibly painful.
And look, here is the absolute first thing you need to hear and believe. Your feelings are 100% valid. When there's no official breakup, no final fight, no closure, it is so easy to feel like you don't even have the right to be this upset. But you do. Grieving what could have been, that is a real and legitimate kind of pain.
So, to really get to the bottom of this, we've got to pull apart two very different things: the person they actually were and the person you were hoping they would be. And that's the core conflict right there: fantasy versus reality.
This right here, this is where we can see that internal battle laid out so clearly. On one side, you've got the idea you fell in love with, right? All of their potential, the almost, this perfect version you built up in your mind. But then, on the other side, there's the reality of what they actually gave you. And what was that? Inconsistent actions, emotional distance, and when it came right down to it, just not showing up for you.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? You weren't really in love with the person standing in front of you. You were in love with the idea of them. It was a fantasy of who they could be. And in that fantasy, they finally saw you, and they finally chose you.
And that's the crucial thing to remember here. A real, steady, healthy connection doesn't live in someone's potential. It lives in their consistent, tangible actions. So if their actions were never matching up with that amazing idea you had of them, you weren't experiencing a real connection. You were experiencing hope.
Okay, so if the actions weren't there, why was it still so hard to let go? Well, the answer usually lies in this really painful dynamic. You were surviving on emotional crumbs.
So let's define what that means: emotional crumbs. Think of them as these tiny, random signs of interest that are just enough to keep you hoping, just enough to make you think, oh, maybe this time is different. But they are never, ever enough to be a fulfilling meal. And these crumbs, they probably look really familiar, don't they? It's that random hey text late at night. It's a like on a photo from 3 weeks ago, a vague compliment that can mean anything. Every single one is just this tiny little hit of validation that you then spend hours overanalyzing, trying to twist it into a sign that maybe, just maybe, things are about to change.
And this quote, wow, it just puts it perfectly. When you're emotionally starving for a real connection, even the tiniest crumb of attention can feel like love. The reason you held on is because that hunger made those crumbs seem so much more significant than they ever actually were.
All right, this next shift in perspective is absolutely crucial for your healing. It's trying to stop blaming yourself because this entire situation was never ever a reflection of your worth.
I mean, just think about the dynamic here. You were ready. You were emotionally present. You were willing to invest. And they just weren't. And honestly, their reasons, whether it was boredom, ego, or just total emotional unavailability, they don't really matter. The point is, it's that simple. They were not on the same page as you.
And this right here, this is the affirmation you need to repeat to yourself over and over. Their inconsistency, their distance, their total failure to meet you where you were, that says everything about their capacity, and it says absolutely nothing about your worthiness of love. You are enough. They just weren't capable.
So, now what? What can you actually do with all of this understanding? Well, this is where you start to take your power back. Because closure, it isn't something you wait for them to give you. It's something you create for yourself.
You know, it's such a trap to believe that if they would just explain why they disappeared, or why it never happened, that you could finally move on. But here's the thing. Seeking clarity from a source of confusion is always going to be a losing game.
So, how do you choose your own closure? It really starts with a few clear decisions. First, you have to stop rereading the old texts. Stop analyzing those past moments. You got to close that book. Second, you have to accept their silence not as some mystery you need to solve, but as the loudest, clearest answer they could have possibly given you. And third, you decide. You tell yourself enough. Enough hoping, enough waiting, just enough. Because your healing isn't in their hands. It never was. It's in yours.
You do not need their apology, and you certainly don't need their explanation to start moving forward. Your peace is a choice that you get to make for you. Which brings us to the final and honestly, the most important part of this whole journey. Because this entire time, the story was never really about them. This final chapter, it's about you.
And you got to be prepared. Some days are still going to sting a little. A song might come on or a memory might pop up and you'll feel that old ache. And you know what? That's okay. Healing is not a straight line. The goal isn't to never feel sad again. It's to feel it, acknowledge it, and then gently bring your focus back to the present, back to yourself.
And here it is, the most powerful way to reframe this entire thing. The whole point of this difficult, confusing experience
was never about forgetting them. It was about remembering yourself, remembering your worth, remembering what you need, and remembering that you are whole, all on your own. You do not need their validation to be complete.
Because that becomes your new standard. The right person for you is not going to leave you in a constant state of confusion, analyzing crumbs. They're going to show up. And now you have clarity, you have a future that is so much bigger than this one person who couldn't choose you. So the only question left is, are you ready for it?